We had 0 loan on this property. That is no longer the case. It's a lie that if you work hard, you'll be successful. It takes a few things. You don't have anything because you spend too much. You're not thrifty enough. You can't thrift yourself into success in today's world. I had this mindset of debt-free, 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 debt-free. My wife and I are ecstatic. We wrote them a check for more than what they asked. Debt-free wasn't actually going to be sustainable. I couldn't make it happen, guys. I'm going to be talking about the excavation that we just had done using, believe it or not, the lowest bidder. Well, that's mostly true, but yeah, it's really actually true, because this is the lowest actual bid for someone looking to come and earn a living doing their trade. At the end of the video, we'll talk about how much I paid for it. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on the value of this. In the video, I'm going to be inserting some footage of a little bit of the work that they completed or while they were doing it. And also, I'll put some footage in of what this place looked like before. My wife, children, and I started working on this rural property here in Oklahoma. We nestled our house into the woods. We did not want to do a bunch of tree removals. We wanted the house to look like it's been here for some time. Everything has been on a slope. Right now, if you were to look at this, you're going to say, man, you have a lot of flat ground. We didn't have flat ground until this week. Essentially, we did not have flat ground. All up here, we are building a shop. The goal is a 60 by 40, and we are putting a oversized 2-car garage or maybe a small 3-car garage, aiming for 30 by 25, 30 wide, 25 deep. I want to first state that I am ecstatic of the outcome on this job. If you've been watching the channel, you know that I talked about some of the higher bids, then the company that we used today, and then also Bucky at the Long Way also offered to come in and do the work for fuel. And that's because he's a friend of mine, someone I used to work with, and he's starting a channel. He ended up clearing all the timber off top there. And that just worked perfectly because the company that I worked with did not want to be on social media. They're very private. They're just not into that thing. They're not looking to expand to become a large company. And so it actually wouldn't have worked out very well, because in the middle of the video with Bucky at the Long Way, the coveted Husqvarna 564 XP arrived. Next day air for me to demo it. And it, like I said, it just was a perfect time frame for that to occur. So guys, God has worked out all of the details, and Bucky did a great job clearing all the timber. We got that all out of the way. Luckily, I was able to burn the big pile there. We're really dry here in Oklahoma, but I found a little bit of rain and it worked out great. I moved all the stumps with my Coyote CK2620 tractor. Guys, this is absolutely unbelievable. Now this cat is following us around meowing. Hey, Essie, what's going on, sweetie? Getting back to the video, we're supposed to have some rain coming here real shortly, and that's going to be nice if we can get some rain on this pad. First of all, it'll keep the dust down and it'll work on compaction. I know a lot of people are going to be concerned about compaction and settling. Guys, this is a lot of fill. Let's take a look how much is here. It worked out perfectly. We didn't have to buy a single load of material to do all of this. We're going to talk about this corner on the deck here, what the plans are. I ended up filling a little further than I initially talked about. Now, getting back to compaction, of course, this is going to settle, but this is essentially dirty rock. It's a bunch of rock with fines in it, and basically as they hold it in here with the skid steer and bladed it with the dozer periodically. It just kept walking it in. It is local common practice. Now keep in mind, we don't have building codes. We don't have permitting. We don't have anything like that. There's going to be no soil tests. Guys, we built this house with zero oversight. All right. But that's why my family and I were able to accomplish this ourselves, having never built a house. I built everything to code for the most part, with the exception of where a couple things just simply do not make sense, especially when you talk to tradesmen around the country. Pole barn builders, other builders, they will put a house on this immediately. They really will. There's like zero clay content in here. It is a pretty solid pad. I'm really curious once we get some rain to see how soft it gets. Remember guys, I went with the lowest bidder. Again, we will be talking about that price at the end of the video. I want to know your guys' opinion. I think you're going to be shocked, especially if you're in a larger metro area where you have to have tons of permitting. You have tight quarters. You know, these guys work in small tract home environments and in large developments. Guys, we are all rural here. This is just so cool. Now we're going to be able to drive up here with the tractor, with a tote, with a load on the forks, and not be pitched sideways so much. I told him he can leave this like this. This is great. This is perfect. Awesome. I'll probably come in with my tractor and kind of ease this corner a little bit so I can make a right into here, but that's going to be no big deal. Another thing I had him do is took a little bit of dirt, skid steer dumped it over here, rough graded it, and then the dozer came in and just bladed it. But I just asked him to do this real quick because I want to put my sawmill up. I am so excited to do that. Flat ground is really missed when you don't have any at all. Now let's take a look at this pad, guys. We're going to put some gravel down eventually, but we got more construction to go. The road got cleaned up a little bit because when we were doing tree removals, there was a large oak right here. That was all removed with a dozer, so that created a big hole in the earth. Look at this pad, everyone. Look at this. We picked a grade basically at the top of this road right here. Believe it or not, the grade was similar from here to here on the road already, which was shocking. Then they got to town with that D4C right there. I asked them how many hours were on it, and I believe it had 8,000 hours on it. Now this company has a few dozers. They have a few excavators and all that. Man, what a beautiful specimen right there. That is a gorgeous piece of equipment. One of my sons was like, how much could I get one of those? I think he was really fascinated. Guys, that's something that our channel is all about, is we moved out here. Well, we moved in, we started in 2020, and we moved in like July of 2021, okay? So if I remember correctly, I could have those dates off, but it took us just under a year to get ourselves into the house. House is still not completely complete, but it is totally livable. But again, we moved out here to help our kids and ourselves to learn more. My wife and I did not grow up in a rural environment, and we had this dream of doing something out here in the rural. I've shared a little bit in the past. I'll share more right now. We initially built this house and purchased the land cash, okay? We had zero loan on this property. That is no longer the case. And I guess actually this is a good time to talk about this. I've been wanting to talk about this. But I had this mindset of debt-free, 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 debt-free. Debt-free wasn't actually going to be sustainable. I couldn't make it happen, guys. People are going to say you could have bought a used tractor, you could have bought a, some people will put their wife in a junk vehicle and say, deal with it. Guys, we live rural. It takes an hour to get anywhere, and our roads are not real good. They're pretty treacherous. We don't need to be breaking down on a rural road. Part of the cost of living in a rural community is, in my opinion, a reliable vehicle. We put a lot of miles on a vehicle. One time we had a brand new Subaru Forester. In 2 years, we had 60,000 miles on it. Guys, we drive a lot. I'm not putting my wife in something bad. So ultimately I ended up with an automotive loan at some point, which stunk. And then same thing here again. Guys, I didn't grow up on a farm. I don't have diesel mechanic knowledge. I did purchase a new tractor. Of course, that was also on credit. We have good credit. So getting back to it, we built the house, purchased the property, all cash initially. Some of my longtime viewers probably thought, why are you complaining about finances being tight and all that? Because if you're new here, I'm into chainsaws. It's a hobby of mine, which has now turned into and helped develop this channel. So this is the deal. You can pick apart and say, well, you spend money on chainsaws and all that. I have a lot of money in chainsaws. However, all of the money in chainsaws still would not have purchased that truck right there for my wife. We used that as a family vehicle for quite some time. I commute in that 2000 S10. My dad purchased that brand new in 2000 for $10,000. Guys, I don't have 10 grand in chainsaws. I've got a lot of money into chainsaws, but I don't have 10 grand into chainsaws. I'm probably pretty close to approaching that. But needless to say, some people are probably going to pick apart my finances and probably secretly have or spoken to their wife about it. But the reality is you probably thought, man, what are you talking about? You're doing well. Look at your beautiful home. Look at whatever you got going on. You got a sawmill. You know, yeah, you sure look like you're hurting. Well, the deal is when you're trying to do everything on a cash basis, you're severely limited. So we originally talked about trying to mill all of our own lumber for the shop. The sobering reality is that would be really neat, but I don't want this all to come together when my children are grown up and gone. That's not what this is about. I don't want a playground for me in retirement. I want something right now to learn myself, to teach my children, to help them grow in their development for the future. Guys, every skill, no matter how much you think it's menial, is valuable. I don't care what it is. Learning how to do anything is extremely valuable. So if my children someday want to grow up to be doctors, gosh darn it, I want them to be able to operate and do maintenance on a tractor if they so wish. They don't have to, but you never know what's going to bring them joy, what might be something good to fall back on in the future. It's just important to me. Every skill that I have ever learned, I was originally an art major way back in the day for graphic design. Guys, that plays into this YouTube channel. That helps the success of what we're doing today. That, believe it or not, helps me create chainsaw content. That helps me do firewood. Because the reality is none of this would have occurred if I did not know all the things I learned throughout my entire life. So getting back to the dirt work, wow. This is awesome. We're gonna plan on, we're not wanting a bunch of grass, guys. This is not the zone and the land for grass. I mean, it just gets wild. We don't have a lawnmower. I don't want to string trim everything. We're wanting to put probably pine straw down in places. We're wanting to put plantings. We are looking to plant some beautiful trees that will have some nice fall color. Probably gonna end up with some maples. I would like to put some river birch in. Japanese maples, all that kind of stuff. We want to make it nice. It's time. Needless to say, yes, we did take a loan out. I can't save up enough money. I can't not purchase enough chainsaws. I can't not take my family to dinner or not go on a vacation and save enough money to build even that garage down there. Well, I guess I could, but it would take 20 years. I mean, the reality is I am not willing to do that. Because I did bring finances into this video, my wife and I have chosen from the get-go to homeschool the children, guys. So this has been a single income home since the kids were born. Prior to that, my wife did work in dental. And then I've been developing over the years from repairing television, working in machine shops, doing woodworking. That's why I have a love for wood and milling and, building furniture. then I went into telecom, worked in telecom for years, an outside plant. Now I work for a power cooperative, not outside. I have a desk job. It's a very, very good job, but a single income in the rural of Oklahoma still doesn't afford the ability to build something like this. Cash, okay? So here we are. We took out a loan to get ourselves right. We are developing the property, guys. We're not using the loan to go to Disney World, to go to Europe and have experiences, or to travel the United States for an entire summer. We're using the loan to develop the property and to develop our experiences. Plus, it's going to give some fantastic content for the channel. My wife, the first time she drives on this, is going to be ecstatic. I made a video a long time ago about how rocks can puncture a tractor tire. I want to show this. Actually, the excavation company is like, listen, he goes, you're going to want to get some gravel down on here. He had to use the ripper here, but people said there's no way rocks can puncture a tire. Well, I 100% beg to differ. These shards right here are unbelievably sharp, especially when you find the right one. Keep in mind, my excavator was just blowing in the dirt, and he did far better than just blow it in. I mean, we want to have access here to drive up, and he knew that we were going to be putting either 3/4 base or 1.5 base all over the property. We've widened this up really nicely. We also have plans to do a slight addition on the home. This will all be on the channel. We need an office space. This is a 3-bedroom house. It's about 1,400 square foot. The footprint is 28 by 50. Again, no permitting or anything like that. Clear span structure. The walls were framed. The roof trusses were set on top of them. And then my wife and I took it from there. Unfortunately, at the time, we weren't doing YouTube. I do have a video that shows the build. You'll see my children and ourselves being much younger at that time. And the things I do have documented on here, though, is like the deck. That was done. This is actually mostly sawmilled lumber from this property. It's not completely done. We got it to a point where it's safe. And the deck, including our master bathroom, were required for us to be able to get the loan. We actually went through the process some years ago. We thought we were going to take out a loan to do some improvements on the property, to finish up the house. And we found out after qualifying, and we were going to be closing the next day or two, our loan officer said, hey, there was something at the bottom, a contingency. You can't have a door to nowhere off the back of your house, and you have to have your master bathroom done. Did you guys finish that? We had no clue it was in the paperwork. I don't know about you guys, but have you read all 1,000 pages of a contract on a home before? So needless to say, we had that white door right there, and we had that sliding glass door. They literally went to nowhere. This one here didn't even have a door handle, and it was kind of like permanently locked, so you couldn't open it up. And that one, well, gosh dang it, it was just... that would have not been good. So at the time, we were presented with the option of, if you still want this loan, you got to pay more money, and we can extend it by 2 weeks or 30 days. I don't remember what it was. And she's like, all you got to do is put like a little platform off the back and just throw something together in the bathroom. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that, because we had a vision. We wanted to make something more special, right? We had the material. Now, I did purchase these long slats here because it was just faster to do. Planing the rough sawn lumber for this was pretty treacherous, especially not having a shop environment. But anyway, needless to say, I'm glad that one didn't work out. It was devastating at the time because we had our heart set. We thought we were going to get it done. We were going to put a building up, and we were going to buy a tractor. I was probably going to buy a Branson at the time, which is now a TYM. We had all these plans, but in hindsight, it worked out better. God has been good to us. He's brought things at the right time, allowed things to occur, blocked things when it shouldn't happen. And then I believe this excavation job was an example of God bringing the right person across our path, hearing good things from the right people, getting suckered into paying the lowest bid. Guys, you always hear that you never take the low bid, right? You always look at the high one, look at the low one, and pick the one in the middle. Well, the reality is all of them were high, and then there was this. Real quickly, let's talk about this. This right here was just leaning up here. I wanted to kind of use it to keep the dirt away from the post. But again, I originally was going to just fill to here, but I ended up just having them go to here. What I'm going to do is reach down in here with my backhoe, kind of peel this back out a little bit, fill in a little bit more over here. I'll get that board out, but I think this is still going to be buried. So what I'm thinking about doing is that post is set on concrete, like I used a large sonotube. What I'll probably do is we'll probably support this end of the deck up, remove that foot, put another sonotube down in there, kind of pour that one on top of the old one. Again, I'll probably just dig around it, probably pin it with some rebar or something, drill down in there, and then put a sonotube up and then put the leg back, but raised up much higher. Again, guys, I don't have permitting. This is not structurally engineered. I designed it myself. You can pick it apart all you want. It hasn't fallen down yet. It doesn't feel like it's gonna fall down. And if it starts getting messed up, we will replace it. I would love to do it all in steel, honestly. I would, if we ever did anything, if I had my dreams, I would probably make a steel frame and make this larger. So what's really neat about this, though, is this pad's brought up to grade here. And so we're putting the garage, it's going to be kind of at an angle, kind of through here. I'm going to be able to connect this now onto here. Our air conditioner is going to set right there on that pad. I'll pull that out. But first, I'm going to try to get this to settle down, put some gravel down, bring it up to grade. It's probably going to be built up quite a bit here. Get my AC back on because we're about to start getting warmer, I think. It's the end of February and things are going great. I'll probably just build some sort of extension or maybe some square type deck extension off of here, remove the railing where not needed. Like for example, take those out, make that a dead end post right there. I don't know, we're gonna figure it out. I might even do it off of that one right there. I'll build a deck over this to get us access into here right from the house, and that's gonna be a beautiful thing. All right, so now we're gonna talk about some numbers. Remember, this was the low bidder. So I had bids around $11,000 to $13,000 to do all the work up top here. That was going to be dozer, excavator, skid steer work. So basically one of each. The owner of this machine here, like I said, doesn't want to be named, doesn't want to be in videos, doesn't want the publicity. I don't know if he will ever see this video, but I just want to say thank you. This man's philosophy is he just wants to earn a living, a fair earning for himself and his employees, which are all family. This man is a professing believer in Christ, and his opinion is he wants to come in and do dirt work where he can make a good, honest living for himself and give a good price to the local community. Guys, there's a large disparity between the lake homeowners and then the lifetime locals around here. Some of the people, well, I can just tell you, I mean, I've been a part of excavation jobs that were in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So again, his philosophy is to do a good job. Guys, listen, it was scary for us. It was very scary. I've worked in excavation, but I just couldn't see how this was all going to work out. You know, when you start doing a task like this, we shot it with lasers. This guy and other excavation companies, we knew we had somewhere around 14 to 18 inches of material to remove off of here. The goal to not break the bank was to skim this off. We needed a pad for the building, and we needed a pad for the building down there. We didn't want to haul in a bunch of material with the understanding that we might have to. but we didn't have to. Not a single load of material had to come in to accomplish what we were looking for. Everything just worked out beautifully. But again, the owner of this machine, he just wants to be able to provide a good local service, and he knows he's lower, guys. He knows he's lower. He has as much work as he wants. He's able to do it. He's not just running only this equipment. He brought a D3 XL. They've got multiple excavators. They're not just like scrimping and scrounging with junk. This thing's in fantastic shape. You know, he does all of his own maintenance. His 289 skid steer had an engine failure. He replaced that with a good used engine. That is awesome. That is awesome. So he was able to pass that down to us. So get ready for it. This is astonishing. I want to know your opinion. Do you think this was a good, fair price? How would it compare in your area if you had to imagine? I will step back here just so you can see the scope of work. You've already walked around the other spots. But like I said, I'll hopefully have put some video in of what it used to look like. That's all she wants. But right here, all of this, we ended up with a skid steer on site, 2 dozers yesterday, 1 dozer on Monday, this is now Wednesday, and 1 dozer today. 2 dozers ran 8 hours yesterday, 1 dozer ran 8 hours on Monday. Skid steer ran the entire time. All of this work, he wanted $4,800 for. Guys, we all want to make a good living. There's going to be a lot of people, especially if there's other operators in here. If you don't think that's enough, they're going to say, well, that's not enough money. He's not making any money. Just because he's got his numbers right and his situation is working out well for him, that doesn't mean he's undercharging. Now, of course, I get the idea. I did this a long time. I used to do vinyl signs. I did a job for a company. They actually still use the logos today. Carly Suspension, actually, out of California. I was really cool. I was watching a YouTube video from Freedom Works, I think it's called.
The factory Dana 50 and leaf spring suspension just weren't going to cut it up front. And that's where the biggest change came for this truck. And that was swapping in a 2005 to 2007 Super Duty radius arm front suspension. Going from leaf springs to...
And he showed a part on, I want to say it's his Excursion, and I saw the name Carly Suspension. That logo, I actually designed for them. I made all their vinyl stickers and everything, and I don't know, I don't think I have the invoice anywhere. It was, like, I lived in California at the time. I was probably somewhere around 18 years old, 17 years old maybe. I charged them like $175 for vinyl stickers and making a logo that they approved of. Now it's etched on all their aluminum. I get the concept of not charging enough, but listen, this man was able to operate 3 machines for a day, 2 machines for a full day, and 2 machines for just under a half day. Charge me $4,800, not sell me any material at all, and make this happen. Guys, this is hard terrain. He made it look beautiful. It looks like powder sugar right now. Guys, this is all rock. It's all rock. I do not understand how they were able to do that. They weren't having to play with the dirt, finesse it. Whenever I do anything, this is what it looks like everywhere. I feel, as a consumer, as a person that received a service, my wife and I are ecstatic. We wrote them a check for more than what they asked. It's not a lot more, but I'm just thankful, guys. It's a tremendous blessing, guys. When you take out, our goal is we took out a loan large enough to be able to hopefully accomplish everything, including wrap up our house. You'll notice that there's no soffits in there. You might be wondering what the heck's that about. Well, that's because we were plumb out of money. And at the beginning of this channel, I've talked about this before. $20 meant the world to us, guys. I went from making at one point close to 100 or right around 100,000 a year in rural Oklahoma to making $18 an hour. All right. And we were living in this house, and I thought that having the house paid for, I thought, but this was around 2020, and we all know what's happened since then. I thought that having your house paid for, having extremely low taxes, having no automobile payments at all, we had 2 paid off vehicles, doing nothing as a family in terms of, we went to parks, we go on hikes, but we still got to drive, guys. Still got to drive. We had kayaks that we had already acquired. We live really close to the lake. It's right over there. We thought that by having all that stuff paid for, earning $18 an hour, scrimping and scrounging, buying used, selling everything unnecessary, we thought that was going to be enough. I now have an entirely new perspective. We did the Dave Ramsey stuff to pay off debt. We still like that concept. In fact, we use Ally Bank now as savings and checking, because they have envelope system is good, but that's cash, and cash is not always the most convenient. And when you're dealing with larger sums of money, I don't want a whole bunch of envelopes, or we had folders in the past where we put money and stow it away. And then we'd take our change and put it in a can and all that. It was awesome. But the reality is so much has done online now, because as a thrifty person, guys, I want to support local business. I want to do all of that. But again, the same proponents of buy local, just buy American, don't use credit, guys. We had our house paid for, we had our vehicles paid for, we had our land paid for with essentially zero debt. That was not enough. My mindset has 100% changed. I saw a quote, and I'm going to say this to any young man, anyone. I'm 41 years old, so I can no longer be called a young man. But anybody from 20 years old to 30 years old trying to figure out life, saying, what in the heck, how am I going to accomplish anything in this world, in this economy? Guys, there's no place you can go in the world, anywhere. I used to think about it from where can you go in the country? That has changed. We're in rural Oklahoma, and it is prohibitively expensive to buy a home in rural Oklahoma. Things are insane. They're it's made for 2 people to be working, bringing in income in a home, husband and wife, putting their children in the system, playing the game that everyone plays, and still people are living paycheck to paycheck, because starter homes now are close to $200,000 and $300,000. When we moved here originally, you could buy houses for around $100,000. That's why we came. One of the reasons why we came, it was a good, safe community. It was affordable. We saw potentially a future. We never imagined we'd own close to 12 acres of land. Guys, we've been tremendously blessed. The Lord has been good to us. Everything you see, with the exception of in the far off distance through a little bit of trees, because we're close to the property line over here, but everything you see is ours. Well, I guess now technically it's the bank's. But the reality is you don't pay your property tax. It was never ours to begin with. I've had a complete different mindset change. Oh, got to get back to that quote though. This is the mindset change that changed me, and it actually came later, but it reinstilled what we're doing. Guys, I've been burning the candle at both ends. I've been working myself to death with the channel, with regular work, being a husband, being a father, being a follower of Christ. I've been working myself to death. And so many people will tell you, you don't have anything because you spend too much. You're not thrifty enough. You can't thrift yourself into success in today's world. That you can't. And you also can't make $50,000 a year and have something to show for it anymore in this world. You just really can't, unless there's other circumstances that allow for extremely frugal living. If you're single, you're by yourself, you have no responsibilities, that's a different story. But the statement that I truly believe in is this: it's easier to make $10,000 than it is to save $10,000. Okay? Hear me out. It's easier to make $10,000 than it is to save. Of course, if your income is far exceeding the basic necessities of life, you know, Dave Ramsey is a proponent of getting rid of bad debt, getting rid of ridiculous expensive car payments, downsizing on homes that you can't afford and all of that. I'm all for that. I agree with that. But when you are just barely able to afford the basics of life, and I'm not talking about having a brand new Tahoe or a brand new 4Runner or Tacoma. Guys, those trucks now start off at over $40,000, and who here thinks that buying a brand new GM, Ford, Dodge, or Toyota is a good idea? Who here thinks that those automobiles are better than they were 10 to 20 years ago? Who here believes that? And they have skyrocketed in price. That's why that 4Runner is here. It's an oldie. It's a 2016. Got about 100,000 miles on it. And then we've got a 2017. We don't owe anything on those vehicles. I don't owe anything on that right there. It's easier to make 10,000 than it is to save 10,000. If you're making 150 a year and you really only need to make $60,000 a year, that's a different person. But I'm talking about the person that has tried to cut every expense out of life with the exception of putting themselves in some sort of comatose state and watching television or YouTube all the hours of their non-working life. You know, you can only scrounge so much. So what I'm going to say is get out there and get busy. I don't believe that if you just do your passion, you will necessarily succeed. I'm not that person at all. Sometimes the chips don't fall in that way. I believe that God has given us all talents for certain things. I believe that's how we should direct our children. If I have a son that has the aptitude to become a doctor, then I will support those things. But there's no sense in supporting or trying to force something that isn't meant to be. As parents, we're supposed to look at what our children do well, develop the things that they don't do well in, but sometimes natural talent, natural interest is really the way you ought to go. That's just my 2 bits. This is my opinion. This is Okie Woodsman's opinion. It's my wife's and my opinion. It's not easy. It's scary as all get out. I said in a video, we've signed the papers. There's no going back, guys. What that meant to us is we went from having no debt to having debt. The most debt we've ever had on terms of a home loan when we've had multiple houses. We've purchased and sold multiple homes over the years. Guys, I didn't acquire all this because of some large inheritance or some lottery winnings or a rich relative. That's not what happened. And I'm also not going to tell you that it's just because of hard work either. That's actually a lie. I'm going to tell you right now. It's a lie that if you work hard, you'll be successful. It takes a few things. It takes hard work, persistence, lack of making bad, unwise decisions, and being in the right place at the right time, knowing the right people, the Lord's providence, the Lord's provision, however you want to say it. In my life, I attribute all the things that I have experienced in life. I lean on even the menial things I learned back in the day, and I learned something in every one of those jobs. It doesn't matter if you're a janitor. It doesn't matter if you're an electrician or a plumber. Guys, I worked on septic systems. That was my least favorite thing to do. I hate poop. Just because you work hard doesn't mean you're going to be successful. You can make a bad decision. Like, for example, you can spend $100,000 or $200,000 on a new one of those and work your butt off and still be paycheck to paycheck. So wisdom combined with hard work, looking for opportunities, for me, trusting in the Lord, that's how you do it. Thank you for watching the Okie Woodsman channel. Make sure you subscribe if you're interested in seeing what other things we have going on and how we're going to develop things here on the property. We really look forward to that. My parents are here. My dad's a Chevrolet man. We'll see you on the next one. Hit that like button, comment, and subscribe.